What's good, people? Today I want to talk about feedback loops and how they can make your development more efficient, but more importantly, how they can make your learning more efficient right now. What's good, people? Welcome to Rock Codes. It's your boy Rasheen. I want to help you code something awesome. Today we're going to talk about feedback loops, and there's a lot of ways that a feedback loop can be applied in development. Not only does it apply to your environment, but it also applies to how you learn and how you proceed and become a better developer. So one thing I noticed is that a feedback loop is extremely important in how fast you can build things and also in how fast you can learn things. And I wanted to discuss a little bit about how to streamline that process and make yourself more efficient as a developer in building and learning as well. So first, we need to start with some definitions. A feedback loop at its core is just a process where a system looks at its outputs as inputs. So you might know about a feedback loop from, when you have a microphone on and you put it next to the speaker that's outputting that audio, and that same audio gets put back into the microphone, and then you get that high-pitched squealing and everybody yells and somebody yanks cords out. That's the most common feedback loop you might be aware of. Another definition of a feedback loop is in biological terms, which is one that I really like, which basically talks about output of a system amplifies the system, which is positive feedback. It could also inhibit the system, which would be negative feedback. Simple example of that would be you touch a hot stove, you learn not to touch hot stoves. That's negative feedback. Ultimately, all of these definitions of a feedback loop apply to your learning and the fact that it's just learning from your mistakes. We all know that making mistakes is how you learn. Fail fast, fail forward, all those freaking memes that you see on social media all day long. This is how you learn, and this is how you learn fast. So what is the point of this video, right? Unrealistic expectations are one of the biggest reasons that developers quit development or just make super slow progress and get discouraged. A lot of developers come into the game and they want to build the next Facebook as their second project, and they barely know JavaScript, and they're just learning React with Redux, and now they're trying to build Facebook. Like, what are you doing? That's not going to work out. It's too hard, too fast, and the potential for failure is very high. And that's not even the worst of it. Without a proper feedback loop that you're making progress, things are just not going to be interesting. It may sound boring, but you have to start with the simplest elements and progress from there. That's why I always recommend somebody follow a structured learning approach like Free Code Camp. Even if you want to take an unstructured approach and jump into a huge project, you have to plan ahead. Write down what you want to achieve, what all the features should be. Have an idea in your head of milestones that you can reach. Do some research on the features you want to implement. One example here is I see a lot of people jump into React Native because they want to access Bluetooth. They want to do some type of app that does something fancy with Bluetooth, but this isn't really possible with React Native right now. There's no libraries out there to help you with that. So as a new developer, you're jumping into React Native because you think you can use your web experience to access native features that are actually not available yet in any real sense. There's only very basic Bluetooth features, and you wouldn't know that until you did your research on Bluetooth in React Native. You'd actually, to do anything substantial, you would have to dive into native code, which means now you got to learn Java and Objective-C and Swift. And if all you originally wanted to do was build a mobile native app with JavaScript, you're going to be really sad about that. So do your research ahead of time. Realize what your possible obstacles are going to be so that you can make progress and so that you don't start on an impossible task. This is why I also recommend doing tutorials. Don't do tutorials forever, okay? But tutorials help you to get the context of where you want to go with your development knowledge. They give you the basic context of the simple concepts, as I just discussed, that will allow you to proceed. So instead of worrying about how you build a React component or how you return your HTML or your JSX or how you build a context provider, these things would come from doing tutorials. Once you have the basic building blocks, now you can go build the next Facebook. And you'll know and won't get stuck on the more basic things like how to map over an array of data into JSX in your React component, because that will be second nature because you did the tutorials. Going back to the concept of the feedback loop, as you are building things, you want to be able to see progress. You want to be able to learn from mistakes. If you're going over long stretches of development where you're just hitting obstacle after obstacle and things are not really materializing in your project, you are also not learning anything. You are just stumbling along, typing code, copy pasting from Stack Overflow. Your project is getting complex. You don't understand most of what it's doing, and you're also not learning anything because you're not getting any positive feedback. Remember, negative feedback inhibits the system. Positive feedback expands the system and allows it to grow and mature. So if all you're getting is obstacles, that is negative. You are not making progress. You are not learning, and you are also not being motivated to even continue. Look for that positive feedback. This is why developers are so keen on having hot reload and things like that. As you type the code, you see the magic happen on the screen. This is where React Native shines if you want to make mobile apps. If you've ever done an actual native mobile app in Java or Objective-C or Swift or something like that, you type the code, you tell it to compile, you come back later, you don't even remember what code you wrote, and you're not even sure if the output you have now is what you expected to have because the feedback loop takes so long. When you have a short feedback loop, you type the code, things are happening immediately, and you can get into the flow of developing an app. And this is how your learning should also be. You learn something, you implement it in an app or in a tutorial, you see it happen, and now you're getting that quick feedback loop and practice. You're getting your reps in, and you're making progress with your learning. Another way that I often describe this as, and a lot of people learn differently. Let's not discount the fact that people learn differently, but a lot of people want to jump in to the deep end on development, and they say that's how they learn. They don't want to read the documentation. They don't want to do tutorials. They just want to get an idea and dive in. And I see those people all the time asking for help, and they're drowning, and they don't even know they're drowning. And you can see this by the way their questions are structured. They can't make a question. They can't give you a clear idea of what they're doing, why they're doing it, where the code even might have come from. It's probably some Franken code from Stack Overflow, and that's just not a positive experience. You don't want to feel like you're neck deep when you're just trying to learn how to develop something. So Einstein said, if you can't explain it simply, you don't understand it well enough. And that is definitely something that I keep in mind when I'm trying to learn something. If I can't explain it, even to myself in my own head, if I can't rubber duck myself or whatever you want to say it, then I need to do more research. I need to maybe read a couple more posts or documentations or watch a few videos, whatever it may take to kind of solidify that in my head. So there's a lot of things that you can do to try to test that your feedback loop is tight. You want to be consistent in how you develop things. You want to have clear goals, but ultimately you want to express what you know. One of the ways that I've done that over the years is I do a lot of discussion on Discord, on the Reactor Flux Discord. I try to help people. Before that, it was in the Free Code Camp Gitter chat. I used to hang out there a few years ago, and I just hang out. I answer people's questions, and that helps to repeat those same concepts over and over that you may have been trying to learn, and it helps you to realize if you actually know something or not. Other ways you can do it. You could write a blog. A lot of people do this. Even if you don't write it with the intention of it being a popular destination for anyone else, just putting those words together to explain simple concepts are helpful for you. So you can use a Dev or any of these sites, or maybe build your own as a project. Write posts on there about concepts you're learning along the way. And if you can put those into words and some words that others can understand, then that will let you know that you're making progress. Another way is to build simpler projects to test yourself, like through Pluralsight has things like this. It's not free, but you can probably get a free trial. They have a lot of assessments on there. Also free Code Camp. Some of them are basic projects. They've got algorithms. They have basic projects that you can build that are actually test driven. So you know that you did it correctly because it has tests built in to tell you that you built it correctly. You also have these sites that do algorithms like Code Wars, Leak Code, HackerRank, all that stuff. But ultimately, another way to test yourself is to just build basic projects and see that they work. Share them with people. Have people play with things and give you feedback. When it's all said and done, you want to be able to see your progress. You want to be able to take that experience of typing code and seeing the reality happen as you expect, or typing code and seeing that it's wrong and being able to learn from that mistake and correct it in real time almost. You want to see that same transition, that same flow in your learning. You want to see that you learn something, you implement it, even if it's wrong, you can fix it. You understand enough to know what happened. And even if that's not the case, you understand enough of that mistake to form a coherent question about it. You're able to look at what happened, figure out what you did and what you expected and what it's actually doing, and be able to ask someone more knowledgeable or maybe research that problem to find a solution based on what you know. And that is where you get that feedback loop tight and you start becoming a better version of yourself. That's all for today, folks. Hope this has been helpful. If you want to see more videos like this, please subscribe. Don't forget to hit the notification bell or you still won't see my videos, even if you subscribe, because that's just how awesome YouTube is. Until next time, peace.